Well, we've been bringing you stories from every corner of the Queen City this week in the wake of the blizzard. As cleanup continues and life begins to resume to normal, many are wondering what's next. Joining us now live to talk about that is Darius Pridgeon, the president of the Buffalo Common Council. Bishop, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so everyone has a story. We know that about this blizzard. We knew that early on. Tell us your story. What was it like for you in those days, Friday to Christmas Day to the day after and up to today? What has life been like for you?
You know, it was rather frustrating because naturally I want to help everybody. And even at our church, which is pretty much in the center of the community, we couldn't. Our lights were out. There was no heat in the building. And then so there was no way even to get there. So it was tough because you want to go out, you want to help. I took to social media until 5 o'clock in the morning after I got a call about an elderly couple being stranded. And what happened was I got on just to talk about that. And we ended up with 400 people going live with us, coming on and giving their stories of where they were. And we got some people rescued, and we got this elderly couple in the house. So those parts of feeding the hungry yesterday, feeding those without food, delivering food, that brought joy, but it was frustrating.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people follow and share those same frustrations, wanting to get out there and do something positive or just help their neighbor and literally not being able to open their door. I certainly agree. I'm going to ask you to put on two hats kind of simultaneously here, both politically and spiritually. I imagine from a spiritual perspective, you are helping to deal with the dozens of lives that were lost, probably communicating with families, talking and consoling them through this. From a political and a spiritual perspective, when it comes to the number of people who perished in the city of Buffalo, 31 as of this afternoon, the vast majority of the deaths in Erie County, how do you grasp that? How do you process that?
You know, I think that, and, you know, from a few of the family members who I've talked to, who reached out, who, you know, the question was many like, why? But there were others who were thankful that people helped their loved ones. And so I think that at the end of the day, when you look at it, it's tragic, and my heart goes out to all of those families. But so many of them understood that, you know, that it was a huge storm, that it was very difficult. And so it is coming to grips, but not ignoring their pain and allowing them to grieve as long as they need to grieve, and to even be angry. That's a part of grieving, without shutting them down as if, oh, well, you know, rest in peace, they're in a better place. I don't do that kind of talk. At the end of the day, it is consoling, and sometimes it's just listening and being quiet with your opinions of a situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that those actions, that consoling is being done dozens of times over in Erie County is just absolutely horrific. I'm going to ask you, it has been a difficult couple of storms at the very least for the city of Buffalo when it comes to snow removal. So I want you to grade, if you will, or at least explain your grade for the city's response to this storm, and then also what you think the city can do better in the future.
I wish I could grade it, but I think it would be unfair to give one grade when there were so many efforts and it was so tough. I'll just say this. Could we do better? Absolutely. I'm never going to say that the city, that, you know, it was perfect. And have we learned from this? Absolutely. But I would say that every effort that I knew of, I was on the phone constantly. One night I was on the phone with the county executive at 4 o'clock in the morning trying to rescue people, with the mayor, with the deputy mayor, commissioner of public works. So I know on this side, all of the work and really the hurt of even the workers who could not get to people and who could not get to streets. You have workers, grown men, who were crying because they were stuck and they were trying to help. So it's hard from, you know, maybe if I was on the outside, because people say, oh, horrible response, but because I watched and listened and talked, and to be on the phone and you talking to somebody, 80 years old, and the emergency equipment can't get to them. So it would be difficult for me, and I think unfair unfair to grade. It's like asking me, how good do you preach? You know, I can't answer that because
Hey,
I was right in the middle of it.
just as an aside, I've been in the congregation when you've been up on stage. I give it an A+, believe me. All right, so what role do you think the council should play moving forward when we talk about the city's storm response? And I mean everything from resources to equipment to manpower. What can the council do, or what should the council's role be moving forward to try and really get a grasp before the next big storm blows through the Queen City?
Thank you for that question. And I've already been in touch with the administration. It has been a great cooperation with the administration. And we already are going to have the debrief to the council. That will be a public debrief. And then we have to figure out what is it, and know from the administration, what is it that we need? And what is it that we need immediately to be? This isn't something we can say, what do we need for next year? Because we're only in December and we still have January and February to go, and sometime March. At the end of the day, we got to be honest, no finger pointing, own up, figure it out, because it's all of us together. Nobody has time for finger pointing. They want answers. That's what the council can do to ensure that whatever the administration needs in equipment, I think that if this is about to be the new normal, we can't wait to get ready. We've got to get ready. It was the first time we've had this since I was a kid. I'm 58 years old. I was here for the storm of 77. Obviously, you don't keep preparing for the biggest catastrophes, but now I think with global warming, we must change our plan and add to it.
Bishop, I'm going to ask you one last question. How do you respond to the looting that has happened, that is happening in the city of Buffalo? We are hearing two sides to this. Obviously, there are people who are desperate, who need to feed their children or themselves or whomever, right? But law enforcement tells us the vast majority of these cases are people trying to take advantage of a deadly storm when police can literally not get to respond to these crimes. How do you deal with that? What are you hearing out in the community, and what has your response been?
You know, I think it was unfortunate. My heart breaks for those who need it. Now, I don't call looting if you needed milk for your child and you can't get out. I'm going to tell you right now, I need milk for my child and there's a store next door. I might go in there, but I'm going to leave you a note so that you know I have this and who was there. Anything other than emergencies, it's unfortunate. I'm a man. I try my best to live in peace and harmony. And I say to those who did take items that were not necessary to think about it. And sometimes you might have to reverse, especially you have children that watched you do it or that you brought it home and bragged about it. And sometimes it's better to just reverse that and drop it back off, even if they won't take it. Drop it outside. You don't even have to go in, but do the right thing. And I think it was very unfortunate.
Common Council President Darius Pridgeon. Bishop, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.